Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. We're so excited to have you again. Two major Nigerians have been standing out in the issue of demanding for secession. And the first in the list is Nnamdi Kanu, who is agitating for self-determination for Biafrans, and seconded by the person of Sunday Igboho, who is agitating for Oduduwa Republic. Both of them are not ready to give into whatever promises that is given to them. What they are earnestly desiring is to see Oduduwa be a country of its own, and also the same thing with Biafra. But just fairly recently, some persons have come up to talk against them. But today's own was quite different because it was in a form of protest. And the protest is not just normal protest against Igboho or Nnamdi Kanu. They make their demands known. Don't forget, some few days ago that Obasanjo talked about the issue of secession, that there was no need for it. And Tinubu, same, even the vice president has also spoken about it. But then this time around, it's a group. You're going to hear their name and what their demands are against Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho. That's what we're going to look at in a jiffy. But before we do that, we'd like to encourage you to please subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button and also the bell icon so that you can get notification anytime we publish our videos. According to the news, an anti-secession group under the aegis of Yoruba Appraisal Forum on Thursday took over Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital, to protest against agitators calling for secession. The protesters converged on the Fajuri Park at about 9 a.m. and marched through the flyover bridge in Okesha to some major streets in Ado metropolis. The protesters, comprising Okada riders, different youth groups, and driver union, carried banners and protest and posters with various inscriptions such as "We believe in one Nigeria is paramount, stand together and love one another." Others were "There is no way we can survive as a nation, and in the world without unity. And individually we are one drop, together we are an ocean," among others. Now, while addressing the gathering at Fajuye Park, the group national coordinator Adeshina Animation rejected the call for from Yoruba activist Sunday Adeyemo, aka Sunday Igboho. The Yoruba land should secede from Nigeria, describing such as treasonable and unpatriotic. He also tackled Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, allegedly spearheading arson attacks and killings under the guise of secession in the southeast. He advised Yoruba should resist the IPOB from brainwashing and infiltrating their ranks, saying evidence abound that secession agitators are planning to cause mayhem. He said, and I quote, "Nigerians should not go the way of Somalia. Somalia is no longer the same today because of war. I don't want to even witness war throughout my lifetime, because we know what we lost in Yoruba race during the 2020 #EndSARS protests. On our part as YAF members, we want to warn sternly that we won't allow any group or individual to turn Southwest into a theater of war. Our Yoruba brothers involved in this evil enterprise or plot to destabilize the Yoruba race should retrace their steps to avoid their consequences. We recorded huge losses in the Southwest during the #EndSARS protest in terms of burning properties worth trillions of naira, not to talk of valuable human lives destroyed due to the violence that followed the EndSARS. The federal government, police, and men of the Nigerian army and other security agencies should take urgent steps to stop the Yoruba independent agitators and freedom fighters before they set the entire country ablaze. We call on the Department of State Services, military, and the police to activate their machinery against these elements in the Southwest before the situation escalates. This is really serious. I have never seen young men come out like this. I'm just wondering. But then, before I go on with the analysis, I like to look at what Nigerians have to say. All right, this one says it is an audio group paid to carry out the desire of the federal government. It's not audio. We saw the group and we saw them chanting. Another person here says this is a ploy to discouraging these agitators, but I am sure it will not work out as expected. Another one here says this is not a true group because that name, I rarely hear it anyway. They are just imaging just because of this agitation. Another one here says story, story, story. Every day you will try to kill what is in the mind of the people, but this time around it will not work. No matter the number of groups you guys are rolling out to stop us. Wow, so many responses coming in here. But then let's look at the issue. I'll try to be as objective as I can. Now, first of all, I think any rational person looking at the situation on ground will first of all look at the content of the grievances of these people and also look at why are they presenting this situation like this. As much as Nigeria seems to be enjoyable when it is won, but then there are a lot of drawbacks which personally most people believe that one person cannot control again the face of this country. We've started democracy. This is almost 21 years. I'm talking about the one that was started in 1999. This is almost, call it 22 years that we started democracy in Nigeria. But it seems nothing is working because unfortunately there are certain issues that need to be settled quicker than expected. Before all this agitation and all of that, Nigerians have been calling for restructuring, which I feel is the ideal way of handling issues in this country. Most states have already even restructured. For example, we look at Cross River State, look at Imo State now, based on the activities of the state governors, you will know that they themselves have seen that some of the issues the help must not come from the federal government. They've started working. This is what we were long expecting. And this would have quelled all this strife for secession and all of that. As together as we are, things are not working. There is nobody who will stay in a marriage and the marriage is just not working. Everything is nosediving. The woman is beaten, battered, frustrated. Her children are kept hungry and it's happening almost on a daily basis. They had been plead for many years and it seems the husband is not changing or maybe the wife is not changing. The ideal thing is to break the marriage because you have to look at the future. How bright is the future? We've wrestled this together, as a country for as long as now. That's we've been together as a country for as long as now and we have lost reasonable number of people. You understand? It as much as secession is not really what most of us are desiring. But then, how swift will the government be in solving some of the problems that is facing Nigerians? How swift would they be in correcting some of the ills that have stayed for too long in the country? Look at the issue of insecurity. They just started hearing that some bandits have invaded, what do they call it, Abuja. And, schools have to call off, said, hey, no schools again. I've heard that some students in Abia State University have been kidnapped. These things are happening virtually on a daily basis. And that's why those guys are pushing and say, please, let us care for ourselves, our own country, because that's the only way out of this. After all, there are other people out there who are surviving with lesser population and lesser gifting. They are surviving as a country. Let us succeed also, so that at least this issue of, insurgency, banditry can be put under check. That's the only reason. If we can wake up and correct these things, most of this agitation won't be there. If I like to leave it, they go to our comment section. Let's interact. What do you think about this push by this anti-secessionist group Do you think that it is very legitimate and they are truly touched by what